With that, all in favor of approving tonight's agenda?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, we have an agenda. Item 6, public comments. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda or non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. If any member of the public would like to speak, of course, we have the generic public comments at the moment. We also have a couple of public hearings coming up on a specific item in the very near future here, so I'll leave it up to the public to make that decision for themselves. Would anyone like to speak at public comments?
It is about the public hearing, I think, but I'll just do it now and then you won't have to deal with it if that's all right. Sue Wolf, 15290 Tisdale Avenue, Cedar Springs. Just thank you for working on this short-term rental, for creating it and working it on it and adding it to our community. I think it's a real good thing, and it always goes better if you have some guidelines, so I'm all about that. I looked at a draft, I think maybe, I don't know what draft it was, but I was gone for a couple of weeks, so I looked at the draft before the city council looked at it. And I'm not sure exactly what the city council, if they made any changes, but I'll just share with you my comments on the draft that I had, and you can do whatever you would like with it. On section 8, 120, short title and purpose, number B, under the purpose, it refers to, in the first line, rental of a single family dwelling. And I would just ask for your consideration on discussing that. My reason being is that we may have a property that isn't described as a single family. It may be a unit above a business, it may be a duplex, it could possibly fall under a different description. And I think there may be opportunities to have a real nice short-term rental that is not described as a short-term rental. And then on, let's see, that would be under 8, section 8, 121 definitions. Under the definition of occupant, I'm sure you probably had a good reason, but I was just not sure. It describes the definition of an occupant, an individual at least 24 months of age. So I wasn't exactly sure how you were gonna work with that. And again, that there may be a good reason for that, I don't know. And then right under there, again, under the definition of owner, it describes holding title to a single family dwelling. And then again, under the next definition of rent or rental, it refers to a single family dwelling. And then over on would be section 8, 123 registrations, under application B, number 4, a copy of the rental agreement for the dwelling. And on short-term rentals, I'm not sure if you're looking for kind of a generic copy of the rental agreement that perhaps states the rules and regulations, or if every 2 weeks or whatever, every 30 days, we would have to bring you in a copy of the rental agreement. I just wanted some clarification on exactly what you were asking for there. And then under occupants, section 8, 127C, occupancy, number 1, the maximum occupancy of any dwelling shall not exceed the maximum number of occupants permitted under an international property maintenance code. And I'm having own rentals, I'm thinking that you're describing that as allowable window size per bedroom. I'm thinking that's what you're looking for there, but I was just hoping for some clarification on there. What is the maximum number of occupants according to that code? Just so I know for sure what you're thinking. And that was it on that. Like, again, I think you did a great job. I think that's all doable. Just those few questions that I had asked for some clarification or discussion on. And then as far as the ordinance, and I know I probably could look this up, and I'm sure Darla could have told me, but I just didn't have a chance. Under the allowable zoning ordinance, zoning areas, is Main Street in that description?
Main Street is B2 Central Business District.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Sue?
Okay, I'm not sure if our backup allows for people to, are they on Zoom at the moment, or anyone on Zoom?
I don't see anyone on Zoom.
Okay. Then, in that case, we'll close the public comments and move on to announcement of any conflicts of interest or ex parte communication. Are there any of those anyone would need to announce? What that means is if anyone has contacted you about anything outside, or that would be, we would have business here tonight, has someone been contacting you outside
Okay.
about the business we have tonight?
Okay, no.
So often it's not an issue when we just breeze right by it, but I just wanted to make sure you understood what it was.
Understood.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the scheduled public hearings. For, is it okay with everyone if we hold the public hearings one after another, since they're basically on the same subject anyway, and then hold the discussion amongst us for after we open and close both of the public hearings? Is that,
Okay.
that sound good for everyone?
I'm fine with it.
Just so we can move through the process. Okay, so in that case, the first public hearing I'd have to open is item A, short-term rental general law, chapter 8, a motion to recommend approval of the short-term rental general law ordinance to the city council. And so I'm opening up a public hearing for any comments on that. And I will see no more here in the audience and none on Zoom. I'll close that public hearing. And now we'll open the other public hearing, also on short-term rentals, the zoning amendment for chapter 32, a motion to recommend approval of the short-term rental zoning ordinance amendment to the city council. That public hearing is now open, if anyone would like to comment on that. Hearing no comment, we will close that public hearing. Having that finished, I'm now gonna open up this to discussion, and as customary, if we've got any synopsis of where we're at from the city, either Ms. Falcon or Mr. Moore, whoever would like to handle that, just to kind of bring us up to speed, especially since we've been gone for, I don't know, 3, 6, 12 years since the last time we've had a meeting, just to kind of tell us where we're at now.
I mean, we haven't made any changes to what was in your packet and what was presented 2 months ago. However, at your table tonight is a list of comments. So both of these went to city council last Thursday night, as a first review. And they had some, quite lengthy discussions on both of the ordinances. I kind of summarized each council member's comments. Just wanted to highlight a few of them for your consideration tonight. And then I have a couple comments at the end. So, council member Mike Maxon, short-term rentals are associated with resort towns. He feels Cedar Springs is not a resort town. What need is being met by allowing short-term rentals in Cedar Springs? Is the need that is being met going to bring us more positives than possible negatives that short-term rentals could bring? The risk, he wants us to be conscious of the risk to neighbors and or neighborhoods where these short-term rentals would be allowed. People that,
Risk.
well, I had mentioned in the council meeting that I felt the risk is on the landlord, basically. They own it. If they want, there's really two options if you own rental property. You can have a long-term rental, 12 months guaranteed rent, or short-term rental. You take the risk. Maybe it's only rented 1 month out of 12. That's up to the landlord. I mean, I felt the risk was on the landlord. And he commented, there is some risk to the neighborhood because,
I'm just curious what he means by that. I mean, it's pretty vague. I'm just trying to understand that one a little bit more.
he lives next to a short-term rental, it could, he felt, maybe deteriorate or affect the whole neighborhood.
upkeep?
Parties were mentioned, behavior of,
Short-term rentals, so, yeah. I mean, if you look at your rental agreements with those, I'm an avid Airbnb, VRBO guy, and, yeah, those are banned. You're not allowed to have them.
And we had that discussion
We had
2 months ago. We had that discussion here, so we're, yeah.
And I know, Airbnb really cracked down on the partying thing. I mean, they make that apparent because it was an issue.
Councilmember Pam Conley, problems with landlord that wants short-term rental. They don't live here. They may not live here. They live in neighboring towns or maybe not even neighboring towns, although I think we restricted so many miles away. So they wouldn't be too far away. We have a housing shortage, which I think we've addressed, we've identified here as well. We don't have an ocean view. If she was a neighbor, she would not love it, not super in favor of short-term rentals. We have a hotel. Is the hotel booked? Is this a business? She has serious concerns. Ms. Atchison felt some people she knows look for a place maybe 20 minutes away from downtown Grand Rapids. They're coming here for a concert or entertainment in Grand Rapids. They don't want to stay downtown Grand Rapids, but this would be an acceptable distance from that entertainment. Hopefully someday Cedar Springs will be a destination. Also, mentioned sometimes when people are looking for jobs or if they just get hired, they look to stay in an Airbnb instead of a hotel maybe until they can find their home or apartment or whatever. So that is an option. Mr. Marvel just feels passionate about the housing market is really tough for young couples these days. Mr. Gross, in his opinion, no one has demonstrated a need in this community for short-term rentals. We don't have large events other than Red Flannel Festival for people to come and stay in town in an Airbnb. Planning Commission, not supposed to address anything that they feel the city council would not be interested in doing. Otherwise, the Planning Commission is spending time and money researching something that may not be acceptable to the city council.
I have that one. I mean, come on. How am I supposed to know, as sitting on the city council, what the sitting on the planning commission, what the city council may or may not allow me to recommend to them? That's ridiculous.
Well, and I kind of felt bad because I'm new to this. I talked to Andy a little bit today about it. This came to planning commission, so I assumed this is where this starts.
And it is where it starts.
Yeah.
And city council has, and may very well decide that they don't want to go along with it. But to suggest that it's outside of our purview to discuss planning for the community, I think is out of line. So, I'll let you continue though.
I'll second that.
Let's see. We felt we put the cart before the horse. Regulation of this will be important. Ms. Powell, of course, is here tonight. I'll just read what I, re-listened to from the council meeting. Short-term rentals are already out there, and we need to get a hold of them before it gets out of control. Renee Race, people with kids may prefer Airbnb. When you have a family, sometimes a hotel isn't sufficient, where if you have more room in an Airbnb, could be a better situation if you had children. And then my comment at the council meeting at the end was, one of the questions on the master plan survey is about short-term rentals. Maybe we take the public comment tonight, put this on hold until we have the results of the survey, which they're due back by the end of this month. Although our September meeting is September 3rd, that's kind of a quick turnaround. But we could wait till October to, analyze the results of the survey and then do whatever we choose to do with it at that time. Thank you.
For the whole planning commission. We're hearing that there may be some dissatisfaction from the city council with what they've seen up to this point. We have the issue in front of us as to whether or not we're gonna move forward with this tonight, or whether we're going to wait and, gather more information before we move forward. What is I'm looking for opinions from the planning commission as to what you think our next step should be.
We could table it till October, till we get more information like from the surveys and all that. But the whole reason we started this, was exactly what Ms. Rose said. They're already out there.
The mic?
Mics, I can't hear you guys on the mic, so just make sure you're sitting close enough.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Is that better? Is that better? Okay. So we could table it till October, but we started this whole thing, and Ms. Rose did bring that up, that they're already here. We already have them, but if we don't regulate them, then what are we doing? So I still think this is something that we need to look at, but if we need to gather more information, we gather more information. We're not just gonna throw something against the wall, see if it sticks.
Any other opinions, or?
First of all, I'd like to thank Sue for enlightening us on several of the points in this ordinance. That was very helpful. We do have to get a handle on it, because we've already got somebody out there, short-term rental with a couch in their house. We have no idea if that couch is safe, or if it's a house that's full of bed bugs or something. Remember, we had somebody we know, they got horribly chewed up by bed bugs at an Airbnb. So, this isn't a resort town, sure, but we do have the bike race, we have graduations, we have weddings, we have funerals where, like, whole families come in and may want an Airbnb. And, we need to get a handle on it. Let's, because I do believe that's where that starts, correct? And let's chew on it for a while and figure out if we can do it.
Are there any individual issues that have been raised, and I'll grab you here in a moment, but are there any individual issues that have been raised that we feel like we need to address to improve this before we move forward, as long as we're discussing it?
We looked at the regulations that VRBO, Airbnb have, I mean, and that was one of our conversations 2 months ago, is like, we're starting to create regulation that might already be rules that some of these places have. You know, I think about the couch. I'm sure there's gotta be rules on space and occupancy when it comes to the Airbnb and the VRBOs. You know, and somebody has bed bugs in their Airbnb, I'm sure that they'll be railroaded out of town eventually with their rating system alone. No one will rent them, so that'll fix itself. But I just wanna make sure we're not creating regulation that's already been made, right? I mean, we've had this conversation before, we said, oh, we need to do this, and we're like, when we talked about the exotic animals, we're like, there's already state law, and I just wanna know, let's not recreate something that's already been created. And I also would like to say, what's the regulation that's out there, and then maybe that, I don't know if I didn't get a chance to read over this, I apologize. If there's anything in there that says they will follow the policies of the short-term rental agreement that they're using within those entities. Because I'm sure that, I mean, I just know Airbnb and VRBO, I'm sure there's others that are out there, but those are the two big players, and making sure that we have them following those regulations, that those rules that they have in place to a T as well. And I think we already have ordinances when it comes to decibels and parties, and we have those ordinances in places that we don't need to recreate a lot of things that we're discussing here. Because if somebody does throw a party, I mean, any local could do that, and then we'd have to have law enforcement come down. Yeah, right.
My slight pushback on that, I agree with some of what you're saying there. When it came to, for instance, the animal ordinances, and we said, okay, we're basically gonna fold in to what another larger form of government has already put in place as far as an ordinance. Sure, absolutely, we want to be aligned with that, and we can rely on that as being a guide. I'm less optimistic about giving city ordinances over to a corporation who can change them at will, and saying, we'll just follow what they say.
I agree with that, yeah.
my in-laws live near, in Colorado, near a big resort town. And Airbnb's got so out of control that their city council made an ordinance where if you have an Airbnb, you have to live on that property. So, you know, it's just, they were just overwhelmed with that kind of thing. So, you know, that's why we have to keep our thumb on this.
And there are some things that were listed in here that I think I agree with, like the reason for people using Airbnbs. Whenever I go out, I always get an Airbnb just because I want the separate rooms for everybody. I want everybody to be able to have their own private area, especially I have 2 young daughters. I need them to have their own special space when they're in there, not everybody in a hotel room, especially I have a preteen, and she definitely needs that. So I think about the family aspect to this. And I have used an Airbnb in a town the size of this in Southern Illinois. My cousin got married last year, and it was nice to have that available rather than the little hotel they had in town, right? They did have one, but it was not one I really cared to go to. Yeah, and the space wasn't there that I needed to.
So, I've got 2 things. One, it was brought up that we're not a resort town, but as what happened back home, when a large corporation would not come in, they did not look at the surrounding communities, is what they did not look at. So people are looking at, well, this is Cedar Springs, you only have 1 festival. Well, you're not looking at Rockford. How many festivals does Rockford have? Sand Lake has festivals. Sparta has festivals. Okay, we've got festivals. Greenville, okay, they got Danish Festival. How full is that going to be? So we look at this and we say the whole community around us could benefit from this. And not only do the people benefit because they're able to stay in one location, we benefit, our businesses benefit from being money spent here and stuff.
And we're 20 minutes from downtown Grand Rapids.
Yes, that's true. And the other thing was, with Miss Sue's questions, do we need to address those, or is she just going to talk to Miss Darla this week?
Well, I mean, we're not in the habit of specifically addressing public comment.
Right, but I'm just saying, is she going to?
I am curious about most of the things that came up, and she can, and some of the things. I mean, the 24-month thing, if that came from defining what an occupant is, and that was we're saying babies. If you're going to say how many occupants are in a place, they don't take up the same amount of space an adult does. So you don't count someone under 24 months as an occupant when you're doing your counts. That's where the 24-month thing came in. It looked weird when I saw it too. Like, well, of course, someone has to be over 24 months to rent a place, but that wasn't what we were saying. It was when we're counting the number of occupants, we're counting the number of occupants greater than 24 months old. The whole kids get in free thing. You can put kid in a drawer if you have to.
I would still question that you don't have 15 babies or 15.
I think it's unlikely, but sure. But beyond that, once we kind of get to a thing, probably the best way is to talk to Darla. Because right now, I don't know that we could even answer all the questions because we're still hashing some of this out.
Right, and I just wanted to make sure that she knew that she could get her questions
Absolutely.
answered.
Well, to be honest, I think if we did table this would be in the next minutes. We'd be able to review those public comments and then come back with,
Right.
if that's something that we feel as a planning commission is essential.
So without dragging this out forever, are there any other like bright spot issues that we want to make sure that we've gotten, that people have had a chance to speak on, that their voices have been heard? And then you can help me come to a decision about, should we table this? Should we move on? What should we do? So first, what else is out there?
Should we send it to council for discussion?
Well, I mean, I guess,
Sounds like it already has been, correct? Right? I mean, that's where this came from.
Yeah, first reading.
I think I'd rather have us take a look at it, maybe look at the wording and then send it over to them, maybe for a second look, and then see what the comments change. Yeah, yeah. And then hopefully you can convey our thoughts to that council too.
They listen to our meetings too, but we need all the discussion we can get, really. It's kind of complicated.
I didn't mean, I know I had a pregnant pause there, but go ahead. Anyone else that wants to?
I guess I got two things to say. I'd like to see more information from the public, so if we did get that information. And then the other thing is, somewhat of an outsider looking in, I've recently moved here. I know people like the downtown area here. Part of the reason I moved here, it's just a nice area and it's not, you don't have to deal with the downtown GR traffic and stuff like that, so it is, I think, a bit of a destination, just looking at it that way, and there are events here, and I know for personal experience, people are looking for a place to stay. I stay at Airbnbs all the time, so, I don't know, I think it's worth looking at, you know.
I'm all for tabling it till October. And we get some time to look at it, have a discussion a little bit more. Yep.
Then in that case, so you want to make a motion to table it then?
this until we have public feedback from the survey that went out, until October. Yeah.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion now that the table's on the table? Okay, all in favor of tabling this till October?
Aye?
All opposed? Okay. All right, the next thing on the agenda then, where there are no site plan reviews, so the next, thing is, other business, update on the master plan.
Hopefully all of you have received the survey in your household, that went out about a week ago. We've been working for the last few weeks on getting that finalized. With these few that have been returned to City Hall today and what we've counted up at the office, we have about 92 responses back in the office through the first 3 days. We'll get the lion's share of the responses back in the mail probably this week, but we're gonna keep an eye on that, and we'll be entering them into the computer and having, as they come in, I would expect, and I know that you said you got like 80% back last time or something. We're kind of anticipating, 300 to 400 back in terms of a response. We sent out 1,280. In my experience, we get about a quarter of those back. We'd love to have more, but anything that we get obviously is great. We typically bank on a quarter, so 300 to 400 is kind of where I'm thinking that we'll end up, and we'll have a report. I'll have some at least preliminary information for you at our next meeting. In terms of how many have come back in and the cutoff and all that. If I can, we'll quickly total up some of the, questions to the short-term, or some of the answers to the short-term rental question that's in there. So we at least have that one data point for you in September, but obviously we won't have the broader context with any other results available in it. So that's kind of where we are. Once the results of the survey have been reviewed and tabulated, we'll kind of go through, goals and land use mapping and things like that throughout the fall and winter months on the master plan. And I think, we'd be still on track for a draft to be done around, Christmas or winter of 2025. So, we're kind of just on hold right now and waiting for the results to come in, and that's about it. Just kind of keeping track.
Okay. Open discussion for issues not on the agenda. Correspondence, the 2024 calendar. As we mentioned, our next meeting is not very far away. It's the 3rd. So that's what happens when you get a late meeting. So we'll see here soon, unless it gets canceled. Upcoming projects, A2, is there any upcoming projects we need to talk about or hear about?
I was gonna hit this under manager comments, but 45 Pine Street sold. It's been vacant for a really long time. And the person that bought it, I was really excited. He currently owns a business on Northland Drive, looks really nice. But I got a phone call today from another business in town wanting to buy 45 Pine Street, and I'm like, wait a minute, it already sold. She's like, yeah, I'm talking to the person that just bought it. Like, oh my God. So I don't know what's going in 45 Pine Street. Hopefully we'll get something submitted soon that'll either get approved or come to you for consideration.
The empty lot behind Wesco?
Yes.
Okay.
69 South Main across the road here, that has sold, but haven't seen any plans or heard anything of what's going on or what they plan to do. Yeah. Mr. Moore and I met with the owners of 13250 White Creek Avenue, and then I've received several emails since that. That's the marijuana shop over there. They've realized, say it's not what they thought it was gonna be, or
Yeah, so,
something to that effect.
so they're the grow operation at the corner of White Creek and 16 Mile. So I think that they're looking to move away from the adult use marijuana grow operation. So they're looking at some different options, and they were mostly asking questions about what kind of uses could be permissible there. They have not really settled on a plan yet.
Right.
As far as I'm seeing, but they're asking a lot of questions, which is fine. So we're kind of working with them and giving them the information they need, and we're hopeful that they'll bring forward a plan of some sort in the next few months that will demonstrate what they want to do. It sounds like they've been talking to some civil engineers who can get a plan set together for them. So we'll see. They're interested in doing something. I just don't quite know what yet. But they've got a lot of questions, which is nice.
Yep,
Yeah, I'm glad they're asking the questions now than after it's all done.
yep. I don't know if you all know, but Rite Aid closed up shop, so I don't know the fate of that building. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was, our West Street property. I've been working with our engineers, Fishbeck, on, we have designed a request for proposals. They have a list of, people that they're gonna send this to, and, if it goes out by October 1st, there's a timeline in here. The submittals would be due January 1st, and then we would go through them, and they maybe come in, if there's many of them, we could choose what developer could potentially buy that property over there and build one building or several buildings or whatever. Having it listed through the real estate company just really nothing came of it, so we're gonna try this route. So, stay tuned. Hopefully somebody bites on it and gives us a proposal. Be nice to get some businesses over there.
All right. And then, I see the next thing in there is that Cortland adopted their master plan, so they notified us of that.
Yep.
Staff comments, city manager, do you have anything else to add after all that?
No,
City clerk?
just a reminder, like you said, that our next meeting is gonna be September 3rd, Labor Day, so just keep that in mind. Is that we can be absent for any reason, just let Darla and myself and Clint know, so that we know if there can be a forum and whatnot. So, have a safe Labor Day, and enjoy a little bit more of summer, it's almost gone.
Planning commission member comments.
Me?
You too, absolutely. Well, I mean, you can be planning commission or you can be the city council representative. That's next, whichever one you want to be.
I guess I'll be a little bit of both. I'd like to thank Rebecca. What a wonderful job she does with our elections. We're very fortunate to have staff that knows what they're doing, how to solve problems, and take our ballots and make it all right when it gets to the county. We don't get any trouble from anybody. We're honest. It's a free and fair election comes out of Cedar Springs. And at council, of course, I guess that was our biggest discussion was Airbnbs. And you saw pretty much what was there, and we've got a long way to go. My concern is, do we just allow the ones that are advertising to just continue that, or do we do a cease and desist until we've got a handle on it? It's just, a question of how. And thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Any other planning commission comments?
Yeah. I'd just like to thank everybody for to be on this. I'm looking forward to it, so.
I was waiting for other people to welcome you, but I wanted, because I'm horrible at that, but hi. Welcome to the planning commission. We're glad you're here.
You're the bike guy, aren't you? Yeah, I thought so. We have met before.
Okay, we had the report from the city council representative then. So report of the planning consultant. Anything else we need to know, Mr. Moore?
One thing I'll mention is that at the end of September, the Michigan Association of Planning is holding their annual conference in Grand Rapids, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you can register for either some of the days or all of the days, and you can come hang out downtown with us. We'll have a booth there, but there's a lot of good educational opportunities there for anyone who's interested in learning some stuff about planning, and we may have a small reception party thing on Thursday night. So all are welcome, of course, and would encourage you to sign up and learn something. Other than that, I have nothing further.
Could you email me that flyer, then I can pass it on to the.
Okay, well, with that, 7:39 and we're adjourned.
Good. There's a good band at the brewery. I gotta go.